was a great anticipation coming into Daytona because everybody can win the 500.
Every time we go to Daytona, we know it's big and it's special. And there's a feeling as soon as you drive through the infield tunnel and you see Daytona, no matter how many times you've been there, you still get that feeling.
I think there was a special meaning going back there for a lot of reasons. The 10th anniversary of losing Dale Earnhardt. And I think the big anticipation was, to me, it didn't feel any different than year 1, year 4, year 6. But obviously we know 10 is a significant number.
On the pre-race show, we'll talk to a lot of drivers. We want people to get ready for the race. But on the pace laps before, Darrell Waltrip always chats live with somebody, and we were debating, should we go historical reference? Should we try to, let's put the Trevor Bayne kid. He's come on strong. He's got a great personality. America should get to know this guy.
What's happening, Tracy? Hey! That was your cue. I'm just a normal kid. I still hang out with my friends in Knoxville and in North Carolina. I mean, I go out wakeboard, snowboard, play guitar, all that stuff, and kayak. I just like to be challenged all the time. I'm not somebody that likes to just sit around the house and watch TV. You'll never catch me doing that. I'm always out just being active.
Did we get your autograph?
Yeah, how are y'all doing?
Good.
I already signed that one. Look at that. Roush Fenway picked me up last year. It was about 8 races ago, I think, in the Nationwide Series, when I wasn't going to have a ride for 2011. In that, they said, hey, we'll run you to Texas in the Wood Brothers car to get clearance to maybe run Daytona, possibly if we have an open car, or we can run a 5th team or whatever. And so the Wood Brothers were all awesome enough to let me get in their car and take it out, and we had a really good day. Everything just went really smooth, and they're like, hey, maybe we should throw you in our car for next year.
The 20th driver to run the 500 for the Wood Brothers. Keep an eye on this man who turned 20 yesterday. He is one to watch.
I love the road trips. So right before Daytona, I was like, man, I'm just going to cruise down, take my time. The plane actually left like an hour after I did, so they beat me there by like 4 hours. But I just like to take it all in, just kind of calm down and get ready for what's going to be ahead.
I remember when Trevor, as a development driver for DEI, went up to Thompson, Connecticut, very fast 5/8 mile oval, and won a race in what's now the K&N East Series. Very poised, very confident, very young.
That's Trevor Bayne in the 99 car for Diamond Waltrip Racing.
The first time I really noticed Trevor Bayne was last year at Talladega in a nationwide qualifying session where he had run so very well.
Speaking of a new face, but he's in an old car who knows his way to victory lane. The 21 of the Wood Brothers, Trevor Bayne behind the wheel this year, and they're excited about this young man driving the car.
He was down there for the test, and I think we all saw then that he had a pretty fast race car. But where I think his credibility really ramped up was when Jeff Gordon put enough faith in him and enough confidence in him, and Jeff knew that he had a fast race car, to basically draft with him the entire Gatorade dual race.
I was starting on the front row, didn't have any teammates in my race. Trevor had a fast race car, was starting on the outside of me, and I went to Trevor and said, hey, you're starting on the outside of me. I know you got a fast race car. You want to get together? He was like, yeah, sure, sounds good. That was really cool, man. I didn't know who I was going to work with. I was pretty worried. Right before the intros on the stage, I was like, man, I still don't have a drafting buddy, I guess I'll just drop back and see who I can find along the way. And then Jeff was like, hey, man, I'll work with you, So that was a no-brainer, and it was really cool for him to do that.
The cars roll off the grid in front of a packed house for the 53rd annual Daytona 500. The skies are petty blue, and the field of 43 begins to form up.
Before the race started, they said, who do you want to talk to? I said, I want to talk to the kid in the 21 car on the radio, two-way. And so I tuned the radio in before they were in the cars getting ready to roll off. And I tuned in just in time to hear Trevor say,
God, thank you for this opportunity to be here and drive these race cars, Lord. Thank you for the platform you've given all of us to be on. Let's pray we'll glorify you with everything we do, because you're the reason we're here.
The perfect prayer before you roll off to run the biggest race of your life.
Trevor Bayne, DW Fox Sports. You got a copy there, young man?
Sir, I do. How are you guys doing today?
We're really doing well. That was a really nice prayer. I really like that. You're driving the famous 21 car. What's your game plan for today?
I understand this is my first 500, and I have a lot to learn, but I'll tell you, man, this fast race car work with, which I think we built a lot of those relationships this week, and I've got a lot of good support, man, so we're pumped about it.
It really impacted me that this young man, 20 years old, is that composed. I would have been a nervous wreck. I'd have been saying, don't anybody talk to me. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear anything. But not him.
You boys have a good one in there, man. Long day. Looking forward to it.
Dirt, Brad. Hey, just checked in, man. Make sure my radio works. Hopefully I'll see you out there. 10-4, Brad.
Hey, Trevor. David here. You got me? Yes, sir. If I can help you any today, I'll do my best. All right, same here, man. I'm sure we'll see each other here before too long.
The radios are I got no radios with anybody else. I have to be on your channel to hear you talk, or I got to be on Denny's radio to hear Denny talk. I can't hear 4 voices at once, so we screwed that up. Can't thank you enough for all your hard work. It's been a long off season. Worked your butts off.
Everything we've done this week, it's been a real good experience, and I've enjoyed it. Let's be consistent all day, and we'll be there at the end.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Clear middle, clear the middle, clear the middle.
Spotters all over the place, radio frequencies abuzz.
Name me another sport where you communicate strategy with the guy you're trying to beat.
The biggest number I heard was 20. One driver could talk to 20 other drivers.
Michael Waltrip in the 15 car, Kyle Busch in the 18, a couple of Toyotas getting a pretty good run on the high side.
Just tell me which way you want to go, bud. I will. Right now we're not gaining much here.
Teammates working together. You see them working the throttle a little bit, man. Biffle had to get out of the gas there for a second.
Really important to be paired up in the 500. You had to have someone pushing you. You had to have somebody that you trusted.
I think Jeff Gordon, maybe he's drifting back in there to find Trevor Bayne in the 21 car.
Yes, you got me on the radio. Yes, sir. Well, here we are again.
I've known Trevor a little bit, met him a couple times. Really good kid. Seems to have a good head on his shoulder. So to me, you know, it wasn't that big of a risk. As long as he had a fast race car, then I was happy, and he did.
And I appreciate it, bud. We're fast, man. You're doing great, man.
And that was pretty neat, man. We had a good time with it, and you know, it was cool working together.
I'd rather push somebody so I know I can be careful. Get ready to check up a little bit. I guess.
Oh, Kyle Busch!
Right in front of you, right in front of you, right in front of you. In the middle of the track, go high, go high, go high, go high. Watch your mirror, go high. Watch your mirror, go high. Clear.
I think Kyle was going to go down and get behind the 5.
And Michael wasn't.
And that's some of that can't see stuff.
Just go tell Michael he didn't do anything wrong, but when they're 3 wide like that and there's nowhere to go, you just got to disengage.
It used to be we would go to Daytona and you would have to worry about tires or handling. Well, that was sort of thrown out. It now became how drivers worked with their partner, worked on the swap and the exchange.
The one of Jamie McMurray up high, making the swap with Juan Pablo Montoya.
That was pretty cool right there. Perfect. That was great. That's been the big issue down here, trying to be able to push a guy in front of you for long periods of time and not cook your engine.
There was a sequence of events where I was being pushed by Trevor. The 29 blew an engine.
Right in front of us, man. Right in front of us is a blown engine.
A lot of smoke. You know, you can't just snap out of the gas because the car can turn you.
We got in the back of 7 pretty hard.
Bobby Gordon was trying to get out of the way of the smoke, and I just couldn't slow down fast enough. Boom, got in the back of him and tore us up to where we had to go to the back. So me and Trevor kind of split up. He went up there and was doing his thing, and I was in the back.
Where's that 21 at?
He's P20. Yeah, take a little to get him.
Boy, that's a sick feeling right there, man.
Yep, the 2007 winner, Kevin Harvick.
20 laps into the Daytona 500, and you're going home.
You never blow motors. What happened today?
Yeah, they're suspecting a broken block or broken head. Didn't do anything different than what I had been doing. We had just a 10-15 more degree oil temp than what we had been, and I pulled out from behind the 17 when I felt like I got to the point where I needed to pull out. The bottom fell out of it.
Drivers teaming up and moving around has been affected by a number of things, Jeff Hammond, including heat and cooling cars, and our heat seeker cam points that out very well.
A great illustration, the 4 car being pushed by the 20 car of Joey Logano. And as they come through that pack right there, we'll notice real quick as we stop right here, if you will look on the front of the 4 car, that little orange area indicates it's cooler than what the back car of Joey Logano is, which is all white. So Chris, again, the car out front is a lot cooler than the car in the rear. Anytime you're behind like this, you have no air going through the front grille, you're going to get hotter, and that's where some of the guys have had problems with engines today because of that.
That 88 car, Larry, he just keeps inching closer to the lead, and we will know, without a doubt, when he takes it.
Junior Nation will let us know.
Oh, yeah.
Big wreck behind you. Big wreck behind you there.
Trouble turn 3.
We're going to clean out a bunch of cars right in front of us. Right in front of us. Check it up, check up, check up. Front of you, front of you, front of you. Back it down, back it down. Low, 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 low. Back up, get back up. 9 car is front of us.
David Rudeman, Mike Waltrip, Matt Kenseth,
Big
and
wreck.
half the field.
Attrition is going to be high today, buddy. Real high. Man, yeah. Boy, it's a man-specker. Good job. Come on, you're clear to go up. I knew that was going to happen. That wasn't working. Our all torn to hell. They split right in front of us. Split right in damn front of us.
Michael just got into the back of the... Tony Stewart did the same thing to Michael in the Bud shootout. Got into him pretty hard and turned him around right there and got Michael with it. I always tell people about racing, you can't live in the what if. The what if is they all wrecked in the 29th lap and took out a lot of good race cars, and it changed the... probably change the race itself and maybe even the outcome. Who knows? Look at that. 300 cars, 24, 48, and 5, all slamming into each other.
Well, now I wish I would have gotten high. I thought for sure we were going to get right through that thing on the bottom.
Heels to the left front here. Coming down pit road. Damage bad, Jimmy? Yeah, I got something broke pretty bad at the steering. Not sure I can really even drive it around. 10-4. Just bring her down here to the garage and we'll get her fixed up nice and safe.
Jeff Gordon is in the garage.
Jeff, I know you've assessed all 4 corners of your race car. Discuss the damage.
Well, it doesn't really matter at this point. Our chances to win the Daytona 500 are over. That's the disappointing part.
When you knock out some major players, it's going to change the complexity of the race. Jimmy Johnson once again knocked out. That seems to be perpetually his fate since winning in 2006. Johnson's had terrible finishes in the Daytona 500.
It takes competitive race cars that appear that they're going to be a contender. It takes them out of the equation. I don't think it dilutes who wins the race.
That crash took the wind out of our sails for a bit. And then we realized we still had a lot of good cars capable of winning the race. And one of them was going to. So we got back up on the wheel and got with the action. And there just wasn't quite as many as there were a while ago.
As we go back to green, Juan Montoya and Jamie McMurray on point.
When you are the car pushing, you can't see anything.
Just like you're driving down the interstate pushing a semi, you really can't see where you're going. You just hope that he steers you the right way.
You have to be more focused than ever, listening to the spotters and really paying attention.
The spotter chatter was pretty frenetic.
We're hearing that the spotter stand is like the trading floor on the New York Stock Exchange with all the deal making going on.
Gonna switch at turn 1 right now. They broke apart on the top. 78 still pushing. One outside. 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 Both lanes there. 22 is behind him. You're still hooked. 22 is right on him.
The spotter for our UPS team wore out a battery. I wore out a couple of batteries on our radios.
You're all clear. You're all clear. Got a big shove coming underneath. Single pod is 3 back. 10 back to another single pod. 5 back to a group of pods. Like tadpoles.
I don't think the spotter ever takes his hand off the button.
The radio chatter is wild. The spotters are trying to be matchmakers while still trying to keep their drivers out of harm's way.
And then the drivers started talking to each other beyond their teammates.
If I'm scanning Dale Earnhardt Jr., you hear his spotter, TJ, you hear him, or you hear his crew chief, Steve Letarte. You're not used to hearing other drivers or other drivers' spotters.
Hey, AJ, David Reagan here. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, man. Is that you?
I got you.
All right, I'm going to be with you on the start here. I'll be right with you wherever you go. I'll switch on over. You got me, AJ? Gotcha.
I don't think anyone anticipated that this was going to be happening.
You never quite knew who you were listening to. You could look at your scanner and you could see a name on the scanner, but you weren't necessarily sure of who it was.
Co-opetition?
That's all it is, buddy. Find somebody that'll help you, and you don't care who it is. You have no enemies right now. Everybody's your friend, and you want to keep it that way until the end.
I understand Darrell's theory of co-opetition, where you cooperate with your competition. But this just took it to a whole nother level. I'm going here. You want to go here? You want to go with me? You want to go with him?
It's cool working together. Like, saying which way you're going to go and just, tell them to back up to you, or, if you're the lead car, they'd talk to you about it.
David, get in front of me. My car, I think, faster than yours. I can push you up. We'll drop back and hook up. Oh, stay on your radio. Here I go. I'm coming high. Still inside. Still inside. Clear. He's going to get right back in behind you.
We listened to some of that radio communication during the broadcast, and after about 15 to 20 seconds, I had a headache. It was like listening to air traffic control.
I'd never talked that much on a radio before.
Just take it easy for a second. We're catching about 10 cars in front of us. Damn, that 21 can push.
The guy running in second, the pusher, he's got to get some air into his radiator after several laps, or he'll melt the engine down. So that's why you need to talk to the guy you're running with. That's been the big issue down here, trying to be able to push a guy in front of you for long periods of time and not cook your engine.
We're blowing up. I'm blowing up. I'm blowing up. I'm blowing up. I'm blowing up. It sounds like ignition, to be honest. We're done.
It's almost like the kiss of death for the 2011 Daytona 500 was being the chase in 2010. Almost all of those 12 guys have had a problem of some type of another.
If you can find an iPod to play some music for me, that'd be awesome. All right. Hold on to it. Just hold on to it there.
Juan Pablo Montoya has spun off turn 4 to put us under caution for the 8th time today. He didn't hit anything and continued on to pit road.
It just got me right on the corner. No damage. No damage. We just need tires here. Juan, you got me? Yeah, don't worry about it. I hooked my nose down to the left side to get some air on it. First time I've done it, and I obviously spun you out, so sorry about that. Don't worry about it. No big deal. God, you didn't hit anything. Let's talk about our deal. We'll talk to him later. Come forward. Be pitting this time. Got to take the radiator. Jack the right side up. Take the radiator off.
Juan and I had 4 or 5 meetings leading up to the 500 about our plan and that we were just going to work together all day.
5, 4, 3, come on, 2, 1. Stop. Perfect. Stop.
Someone lost the draft or had a bad pit stop, we were going to wait on him.
We'll have to find us a partner. Find somebody. He'll make it, won't he? No. Are we doing it? Are we waiting on him or not? Find a partner. All right, 10-4. We just got to get going here.
I don't think either one of us anticipated one falling back a half a lap.
This is starting to look like a middle school dance. Would you draft with me on the restart? Oh, no, I already promised him.
Let's crank it up.
Got the 18 behind you here. Hey, Jamie, it's Kyle. You're going to have to be careful pushing me because I got too much bear bond on, so it's going to have to be more square. Yeah, 10-4. I'll be careful. Jamie, we've got to go get the 42. Where are they at? 42 is in turn 4. Kyle, I got to go back and get Juan. We had a deal earlier, okay? Yeah, 10-4. Go ahead.
It's a really sick feeling to do that, but that was our plan, and that was what our meetings were about, and we just stuck to our plan.
The one car is coming back to get us here. The one car is faded back to come get us. Here's the one right up here. Perfect. We have to be taking, but once we do, we're there, you know? Yeah, 10-4.
This may not be the most physically demanding race of the year, but it is certainly the most mentally taxing.
33 and 27 are closing back in with you guys.
The two drivers hooking up together in a tandem and running around there for laps after lap after lap. I think that was mentally draining. I think it was physically and mentally draining.
You're losing me. Up and off you there. Oh, yeah. No big deal.
There were a lot of close calls just from the fact that, you know, if you were in a two-car pack there and that guy in the back doesn't know that you're getting in a tight spot, so that lead car had to find a way and find somewhere to go when they got there.
It was pretty much a mental and emotional race because, you know, physically it's a lot easier than it was before. You're not having to drive the car through the bumps, and now you're just kind of guiding the car, guiding the guy behind you through the corners. It seemed like it was relatively smooth there now.
Mentally I thought was huge. You know, by the end of the day, I think I radioed in with about 40 to go. I said, I got a headache. I just want you to know I got a headache. And I mean, just because you're always trying to calculate yourself in the right position, but sometimes you're dictated by somebody else.
Oh, Bobby Labonte.
Bobby Labonte off the pace.
All right, Ruderman, you on my radio here, bud? I'm with you. Hey, we're going to just take it easy here. We're just going to take it easy. Shoot the push 56 too if you want to talk to them.
I wish we could do that every weekend. That was pretty neat, man. We had a good time with it.
Us pushing him is a really good bet. Anybody we work with, we can push, you know.
I'm so impressed with that young Trevor Bayne. You talked to him on the pace laps, 20 years old yesterday in the 21 car. Whenever they get 3 wide, he gives some breathing room to that car in front of him.
Yeah, he backs out of the hole. If he sees something he doesn't like, he's smart enough to know to get out of there.
Yellow flag as Travis Kvapil limps onto pit road. So with 76 laps to go, they'll open the pits for fuel and tires if needed, and there'll be at least one more pit stop in this race.
We're used to seeing tires on every pit stop, either 2 or 4.
20's coming down for right sides and fuel. 10-4, right sides and fuel. We'll stay on the same strategy.
And with the new fueling system, it takes longer to put 2 cans of gas in the car than it does to change 4 tires.
Tom, you just make sure it's full, and then you nod your head, towel will go off, your nod, I'll watch traffic.
Yes, we're used to seeing more tire changes. Goodyear certainly used to seeing a lot more tire changes.
Gas only when we pit. Windshield tear off.
But the lack of those really didn't become a factor in the race because the pit stops were all about how long does it take to get all the fuel you need.
So here they come for what could be the next to last pit stop of this Daytona 500.
Gas only here. Pit.
Martin Truex is going to pit. He's not going to take tires on this stop or the next one or the one after that. They're going to run this set of tires for the entire duration of the Daytona 500.
I think when you see as few tire changes as we saw in the Daytona 500, that's an unusual scenario. It definitely changes the way the event has to be strategized. What you're doing is you're running a fuel strategy rather than putting fresh tires on the car. It really took away the need for the mechanics to set the cars up for handling.
Not many tire changes among the first ones to pit road. Joey Logano is going to take at least right sides. Krista?
Same strategy for his teammate, Kyle Busch. Right side tires for Kyle.
Okay, jack down. You're good. One. All right, there you go. Nice to see you. There you go. I'm just watching the gas man's hand. He starts nodding, I'm going. Yeah, 10-4.
I've always thought that tires should be the least of your worries. And certainly at Daytona this year they were.
I may TJ to let, once if we team up like that again, let the lead car spot for the back car.
That second place car, or the pusher, just had to say to himself, look, you know, I've got to hold it to the floor until the lead car tells me not to anymore. So that's a trust that you had to have working with each other.
Green flag, 72 laps to go.
About 3/4 of the way through the race, I was racing, had David Reagan pushing me.
Carl's with us now, coming outside.
And we went through the tri-oval, and I stuck my left front on the flat, you know, de-wedged the car, and I was sideways, and I thought, this is it, our day's over. I thought for sure I was wrecked.
Sorry about that, David.
Back off of you.
That was perfect, thanks.
Watch the 99 of Carl Edwards. Right behind the orange car, Robbie Gordon. And
look,
whoa!
He's turned plumb sideways right there.
Then he got knocked below the double yellow line. And that was his teammate, David Reagan, in the 6.
David, he let off, and I got it corrected, and all worked out. But, man, my heart rate was through the roof right then.
Guy in front of Matt can't pick a lane.
caution, Ralph.
Oh, yeah.
Biffle tried to get back down in behind him and didn't time it right.
Well, that didn't work.
Pretty vicious hit. Here it is on our Fox Exmo cam.
And did you see how close he came to taking Montoya out?
Trouble on the racetrack.
And it is Montoya crashing along with Greg Biffle.
On pit road now, in the grass. We'll take it easy, nothing's coming at you.
We were talking about synchronized racing. That's synchronized spinning right there.
Look at Montoya, the car control, locks the brake, waits on it, unlocks the brake to make the turn to pit road while Biffle is headed for the grass. Like a snow plow going through there. Yeah. Into the wall goes Kozlowski.
Stay low, get on the apron, on the apron. Every quarter, check it. We still want 5 seconds of fuel, so I might put rights on it, just because we have to wait on fuel anyway, you know. Okay.
Pit road's open, and here they all come.
3, 2, 1, on the jack, right side.
Chief Tony Gibson said, leave on me, old man. Fuel only for the 39. I'm Ryan Newman.
You're clear, you're clear.
Hamlin's coming out. There's Trevor Bayne just squeaking in. Kozlowski trying to get to his pit.
Hey, Dave, this is Trevor. You want me to push? Yeah, whatever. Hell yeah, I want you to push me.
Trevor and I happened to start beside each other on one of the restarts, and we were talking with each other on the radio, and Trevor was a great pusher. The 21 car was the best car down there over the whole speedways. It had a lot of speed, and it was fast.
We're catching the lead group pretty fast.
56.
Truex. And Tony Stewart almost got spun. Truex will not be penalized because he arrests his speed coming down pit road. NASCAR will not penalize him for taking that evasive action. 6 pairs of cars, one of whom, in 5.5 laps, is going to win the Daytona 500.
Here comes Trevor Bayne. He and David Reagan are hooked up.
Just take it easy for a second. We're catching cars in front of us. Yeah, let's stay in the middle.
You can't tell someone how to drive a race car. You either got it or you don't. You can either do it or you can't. And Trevor has a real knack for restrictor plate racing. Trevor Bayne has such a good sense about where the guy in front of him is going to go. What a great pusher he is.
All right, let's split them. Let's go to the middle. I'll drag my brake.
3 wide right here at the line. Can they make it?
4 laps to go. David Reagan and Trevor Bayne just laid down the fastest lap of this Daytona 500. Six times a driver has scored his first sprint. Oh! Smith gets turned in front of Boyer and Newman and Hamlin.
Clear, keep coming. Caution's out now. Wave them off. All right, guys, we're in it.
And Ryan Newman's attempt to win his second Daytona 500 may be thwarted right here.
Just being in the right place at the wrong time. I had Denny Hamlin pushing me down the back stretch. We were up on the high side. The 88 and the 14 got together, hit the 22, hit the 78, hit the 33, and the 33 drove me in the door and knocked me into the wall.
I told you all through Speed Weeks, I said it don't matter how long you can push because it's going to be a green, white checker.
Remember, we go double file for the restart, and we'll have up to 3 attempts at this green flag, then the white flag, then the checkered flag.
Don't do anything dumb. Don't beat yourself. That's always one of my golden rules. We're not talking about some short track somewhere. We're talking about the Daytona 500. And you got 2 kids up here right now. I would pick either one of them. One of those kids might just win this race.
We've got a green-white checkered. We're close on fuel, and so I'm thinking about coasting through the corners, making sure I don't have an air pocket.
Hey, Trevor, you still got me? Sir. Don't take it too easy on the start. I'll do what I need to do to get in front of you.
Trevor had been a good pusher, So when he and David Reagan came down for that last restart, they had already worked it out. Reagan was going to drop down in front of him.
Sure, we do not cross lanes before the start-finish line. Do not do that.
Being the leader of the race, I felt like, as long as I started within the parameter that NASCAR gives us and not jump the flag, that I was good to go.
All right, David, it's all yours. Let's do it.
Green flag.
I take off, go through the gears, it doesn't stumble, my fuel pressure's good, and as soon as I clear Trevor, I move down. And I'm looking out my rear view mirror more than I am my windshield. And so I just think we got a great restart.
You're all clear. You're all clear. Got a big shove coming underneath.
Post the 6, passing before the start-finish line.
6 is being black flagged. They timed it perfectly. They just went too soon.
Yes. And NASCAR black flagged him, and we just all went, what?
I'm the leader. I can't pass. Switch lanes before the start-finish line, he says.
They were told in the driver's meeting, hold your lane, hold your position till you cross the start-finish line. And as Darrell famously said, he timed it perfectly. He just made the move too soon.
Oh, we got a car around.
Bobby Gordon saves it.
Watch that 7. Oh, he's coming. Come back. Come on.
Brian Newman hit the wall.
Hold the brake. We're in it, guys.
Dadgum.
Caution is out.
It killed Junior. Yeah, man, I think perfect.
Now, Trevor's sitting up there, and that's when I thought he was going to be in trouble.
Should we choose the bottom and let him get down in front of me there? I mean, you're going to be the leader. You either got to take the top or the bottom.
And Trevor Bayne becomes the leader of the Daytona 500.
I never expected to take the lead that early. I figured we'd be pushing the 6 car across. Everything that I had planned, the way I had planned it to work out, didn't happen.
He was prepared to be the pusher right up to the checkered flag of the Daytona 500.
He said, I need to be the car behind because when I'm in front, I tend to pull away from whoever's pushing me. I heard that and I went, whoa.
Coming to the green, pace cars away. You're all clear. You ready? Ready. Green flag.
Bobby Labonte gave Trevor Bayne a heck of a push.
Bobby Labonte, he did an incredible job getting to our bumper and giving us that huge push to get us out front. I didn't expect it to happen that way at all.
I hadn't seen Trevor all day long, and he ain't seen me all day long. But how ironic, you come around at the end, and I just blasted him as hard as I could and took off.
They'll face the white flag when they come around to decide the 53rd Daytona 500. Rookie Trevor Bayne in his second Sprint Cup start will lead them to the white flag.
When I crossed the white flag, I was thinking, man, at least we can tell everybody, hey, we were leading on the white flag lap at the 500.
Got 2 cars out the back that could come into play.
Now all they can do is try to hug the bottom of the racetrack and protect. You could not count on who was leading at the white flag that was going to be the leader when they would come back around. I felt like one of those guys behind him, possibly Carl Edwards, possibly Bobby Labonte, was sitting in the catbird seat and was not going to rule out Kurt Busch at that point.
Edwards and Gilliland down to the inside. Where did that 34 come from? Try to spoil the party.
David stuck with me. We were able to get by a couple guys on the back straight and then get that run at Bobby and Trevor. I thought I could get to Trevor's bumper, push him, then get around him, and his car was just too fast.
Edwards, now he pushes Trevor Bayne. It's over. Trevor Bayne is going to win the Daytona. Unbelievable.
Baby, I hear you. You are the man.
Happy birthday, Trevor Bayne.
Are you kidding me? What? That was awesome, Trevor. You are the man, buddy. You are the man. Did that rookie win? Yes, sir. You are me. Yeah, pretty cool, man. I'm happy for him. Unfreaking believable. That is incredible.
Oh, my goodness. First win in 10 years for what is now a part-time team out of Stewart, Virginia and Concord, North Carolina. The Wood brothers return to victory lane at Daytona with 20-year-old Trevor Bayne.
Am I dreaming right now? dude. What? I don't even know where to go.
It's way more than I could have ever expected. You know, it's not anything I could have fathomed doing this young. I realized that everybody around me was affected by this. You know, the Wood brothers, they're the oldest team in NASCAR. They haven't won a 500 in 30-something years. Donnie Wingo, the crew chief, who's been trying to win the 500 for the last 31 years. There were a lot of people affected by it, and I was just glad I got to be that little puzzle piece to fit into that.
Awesome! Daytona 500, baby!
This is unbelievable. This is fairy tale stuff. This is like once upon a time.
The glass slipper fit.
It did, man, it did.
This young fellow winning, youngest driver for one of NASCAR's oldest, most storied, most successful teams. That's a story you just couldn't script and you just couldn't imagine, but it's one that's captured the hearts of all Americans.
Your son, Stephanie, just achieved the ultimate dream. What does this mean to you?
I can't even put into words what it means to me and what it means to him, because he has worked so hard since he was little.
It's just so neat because it's not just NASCAR. It's not just sports in general. It's sort of Americana, of all these parents who are out there who do everything they can to make sure their kids are happy.
In the stands with 50 to go, I just kept thinking, just let him finish the race. Just let him finish the race. I never dreamed he'd be here.
Awesome job. These guys deserve it over here.
In Victory Lane, they handed me the hat and the coin that said 600th win on it. I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know, it's cool, you know, and it's cool all the Ford drivers that have got the other 599 to let us be able to get the 600.
I think the combination of the Wood brothers and Ford with a young driver at the Daytona 500, it's a special moment for Ford to win, to hit that milestone at that racetrack at that time.
Wow, this is unbelievable. I mean, these guys, Ford Motorcraft, the Wood brothers. How cool is it to see the Wood brothers back in Victory Lane? We got Leonard over here. He is the man. I've never been to a racetrack with this many people here, and to win on this kind of platform is just incredible.
It was a 300-to-1 betting long shot in Las Vegas, and to win the biggest race you can win, whatever car you're in, it's a great thing, especially for a guy as refreshing as Trevor Bay.